Maybe everything that I just said, all that mumbo jumbo, can be distilled into this answer. Sandlot baseball is a good excuse to be human.
I like that. Is that how you explain it to people when they don't know anything? Like the first thing you say?
I'm going to take that for the insult that it is.
No, it's not.
No. I know. I mean, tongue in cheek. You got me, is what I'm saying. You totally got me.
That's Brett Marshall Spears of the Tulsa Rumblers, summarizing everything we're about to discuss in the next 30 minutes. Welcome to Sandlot Social Club. I'm Adam, your host. When the Tulsa Rumblers, the Tulsa Breeze, and the Tulsa City Jesters came down to Austin for 6 games over a weekend, Brett and I found time for a 2-part conversation that starts while my Cap City Cobras take on the Tulsa City Jesters under the Friday night lights of Gavali Park, and ends while the Tulsa Breeze and the Texas Playboys kick off a hot one under the sun at the Long Time. The sounds of baseball are all over this episode. The cracks of the bats, the holler and chatter of the dugouts, the tunes and the cheers, the elation and the hustle. So find a place to kick back, tune in, and enjoy the games. That's Jacob's first hit. Hey, Jacob! Save that ball.
You give him one of these.
Yeah. Hey, save the ball. Get the ball.
This is a great time to talk baseball.
Yeah, it's a beautiful night. It's one of the nicest nights, honestly, that we've had out here in a long time.
We got the Tulsa City Jesters and the Cap City Cobras, part of the Tulsa-Austin mashup weekend we got rocking here. 3 teams from Tulsa.
Yeah, how many? 3 teams came down, right? The Jesters, the Breeze, and y'all, right?
Yeah. Yep. Rumblers, Breeze, and Jesters. 6 games in less than 48 hours.
Yeah, it's really nice to have y'all here. A while back when I was first thinking, okay, I'm going to talk to people about baseball, what is really the underlying objective here?
Right.
And I sort of thought about it in terms of questions, right?
Sure.
And the question that came to me that I was drawn to, that I'm curious what your answer to is.
I'm excited to hear it.
Is why baseball?
One answer is it's as arbitrary as anything else that anybody connects themselves to.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you're honest about it, right? I mean, you grow up in a football town, there's a good chance you do football.
Yeah.
Or at least you're connected to the game in a way, right? Or you grow up in a certain part of Europe, you know, you're a footballer, right? You follow Liverpool or whatever. There's that accidental part of your identity that you always want to try to say you're self-made, but you're just subject to the conditions, right?
Right.
So that's one possible answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a very romantic answer.
Yeah.
Another answer, and I'll give you my answer.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you asked this because I was thinking about this a lot yesterday, because I'm also a fisherman, fisher person, angler. I'm not good enough of a fisher person to be called an angler. That seems way too serious. But so I before I came to Austin, I drove down and went to Canyon Lake by New Braunfels, and I stayed by myself, and I fished with a guide. I was trying out this technique for targeting striped bass on this small lake. And it's technical and difficult, and I didn't do very well at all. But I was thinking about it because you ever heard anybody say the definition of an insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result?
Yeah.
I've always thought that was a really shitty definition, like, of insanity.
Right.
Like, you know, I think of insanity as like, you think that the toaster is like a 3-headed elephant. Like, that's insanity for sure.
You're like trying hard is not insanity.
But there is a logic. Like, there is a logic to the answer that insanity is doing things repeatedly and expecting something different. And the logic, I think, has to do with hopefulness. And in baseball, you do, generally speaking, the same thing over and over and over again. And you expect a different result. In fact, the reason that you do it over and over again is because you keep expecting a different result, a more perfect result, right? And when I was fishing and I was doing so terrible and I was like on cast 6,000 without having caught anything, I was thinking to myself, this is what I like about baseball, is that what I'm doing right now while I'm continually failing in every quantifiable way, there is no fish in this boat. There is no bite on the end of my line. Or I didn't field the ball, or I didn't get it hit, or I hit the ball hard and it wasn't right, and someone caught it, or whatever else, is I am subjecting myself to the game, which ultimately is a game of misery. It's a game of failure. And I am doing everything within my power to continually analyze and make efforts and be intentional and stay focused and stay in the game.
Yeah.
Right? And you can only do that with a great deal of hopefulness. You can only be attuned to those repetitions. You can only wake up early before the dark and get your rig ready to go fishing after striking out for 3 days in a row, right? Believing that if you continue to apply whatever, right? Like your energy, your focus, your effort, your feeble and meager attempts, that something might happen. Something incredible might happen.
Yeah.
That fish might be the state record. And that ball that you hit might fly 4,000 feet, right? Like,
Right.
Because you know, ultimately, that if you broken down into its parts, it's all very simple.
Right.
Bat hits ball travels at certain miles an hour, launch angle certain whatever, certain speed, certain density of wood. There you go. Now you're George Brett, or you're like, that's all you have to do. Right? It's like the episode of Seinfeld when Costanza comes out. What is it? Like he stops having sex and so he becomes a genius, right?
Oh, yeah,
and he's like
yeah.
on the field with the Yankees, like simple physics, angle times blah, 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 minus a drag. And then like he just cracks 3 home runs,
So there's something about the routine of it and the returning to it again and again.
Yes.
And that occasional moment.
Yes. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And obviously you don't want the moments to be occasional.
Right. You want to increase the
but even that's the thing about the game. At the highest level of this game, there is nobody playing the way that they want to.
They're still occasional.
There is nobody playing as perfectly as they want. There's no one who has completed their game. There's nobody the best baseball player in the world right now, arguably, is Aaron Judge. And he's still failing 70% of the time.
Yeah.
It's
hard.
And he's doing something like fucking historical.
Yeah.
And he's still subject to the game.
Yeah.
And the only way that Aaron Judge can wake up tomorrow and be Aaron Judge is if he keeps going out willing to be subject to the game and fail. He can't escape that. And I think none of us, I love the corollary to life.
Yeah.
There is like, none of us can.
Yeah.
And I think that's, to me, it's one of the reasons why I find, solace in the game. Here I am. Again, I'm here. I'm subject to it. I'm making myself subject to it.
Yeah.
The ecstasy and the agony, the camaraderie, all of it.
Yeah.
So that's a long answer, but that's
what I wanted.
That's all you're going to get from me.
I wanted a long answer. Long answers are
this
the bread and butter of this podcast.
Did you say the bread and butter?
The bread and butter. The bread and butter. Exactly. What are those moments? What are the moments that you really enjoy when you were playing that bring you a lot of joy?
I think the most pure expression of it for me is like the sharply hit ground ball. Like if I'm playing short, not like something where it's like a Manny Machado, like diving backhand. I'm not, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just a nice, clean ground ball that you probably should make, but that you also know there's a really good chance that you're not going to make.
Yeah.
You put yourself in the spot and the hop comes and your hand is, moving out to the side of your body just at that precise twitch in a way that it doesn't usually move. You don't usually like turn that over with your elbow tucked into your rib cage, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And all of a sudden, you know, you're not even sure if the ball's there.
Ooh, nice shot.
It's a pretty good rip.
It's a good rip. That's
gonna
going to drop
fall.
in there. Yep. Going to, oh.
Nice hit, Brad. Right away, Brad. Well, that got up in the ozone.
It looked beautiful up there in the sky.
A majestic, would you say?
It was a majestic fly ball.
Yeah. But yeah, so the sharply hit ground ball to me is like, that's one of the things that I love. I'm one of those guys who got get to the end of like a Sandlot Sunday. In Tulsa, that's just like our pickup, like our every Sunday we just have a big open pickup, and I get to the end of that, and a lot of times, you know, you're trying to get people reps and that kind of stuff, new people that come in, and sometimes I'll just chill, but then at the end I'll be like, hey, anybody want to hit me a basket of balls?
Yeah.
And about, you know, between 50 and 75 ground balls to short, 2 or 3 baskets with someone standing at first, where I can just get like. All of it falls away. The world falls away. It's just me. And the challenge is to do something that I know that I can do, but to execute, right? Like to do that thing.
You find a meditative space.
I really like it. Another thing that I really enjoy, those moments for me are, what like the things that you get to be privy to for others.
Yeah.
Like, right before this, you were trying to record. You were like, dude, that's his first hit.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you were so pumped about that.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate enough. I have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to good people in my life. And a lot of them are part of this Sandlot community. And because of that, you know, I know some of their stories.
Yeah.
You know, I know what they're going through. I know where they're at. I know what they've suffered, or what the challenges facing them are, or just the doldrums even that they're facing. You know, and to see like you know, to see that clutch two RBI single with 2 outs in a game where, you know, and just to know like. Maybe not anybody else in the world knows what that means, but a few of you standing there do.
Yeah.
And that like that jolt of energy, like yes, you know, like that's what that guy needed a break. You know, that was what he needed, and that kind of like just being privy to that, the older that I get, the more that I believe something that I've believed for a while now, and that's that life is too big, and your own consciousness, your own soul is too small comparatively to be satisfied with your own joys and your own sufferings. Like you're gonna have to find other people's joy and other people's suffering to share if you want to know what life is about. And I'm not talking about like you got to have kids to know what love is. That's not what I mean.
No, we need other people. We need other people,
and you need them to the degree to where you can feel it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They're not just ornaments in your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, these are like people where like.
Nice play.
Yeah.
Double play.
Nice
wow.
play.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, so that's something that for me, and like.
Yeah, that like something like that, right?
Yeah,
like that was one of those moments.
Exactly.
Because I'm sitting here thinking like that's Kyle out there turning that double play.
And so that's such a unique opportunity, I think.
That's the game.
You want to get in line real quick?
Let's get in line. Yeah,
okay.
Let's take a break.
Go ahead.
So we're picking things back up here at the Long Time the next day.
Yep.
The Breeze are about to play the Texas Playboys. I wanted to ask you about something that you said last night about other people, right? And the way in which playing baseball creates this mechanism whereby you have these moments with other people where you're caring about them, where you're sort of invested in them, in a non-ornamental way, where like there's a realness to it.
I really appreciated the way you put that, by the way. I thought that was like spot on to what I was trying to say. Like, the way that word, that these people are not ornaments in your life, I thought that was so keen. I really like that.
Thank you. It made me think of teammates. Like that's kind of what we were really talking about, like your teammates.
So you're familiar with the idea or the language of chosen family?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you have your family. And we mentioned last night too, like so much of your life is an accident, like what period of time you're born in. And what things are cool, where you're from, or what resources you have, or the way that you identify with who you are. And your family is one of those things too, right?
Right.
But then you also have like this chosen family, like your friends and the people that you connect to over the course of your life. And that also is arbitrary, at least it seems manipulated a lot of the times in the ecosystem of sort of adult life and capitalism and like who you know. It's about who you know. But then who you know becomes a vehicle to some other thing, right? It's not, I know this person, full stop.
Right.
That's not the gift.
It's what can they get you to?
Exactly. Right. And so then your adult life is hamstrung in those ways. Team and teammates are this weird kind of thing where like you choose to be bonded to these people, and they are not like your people in any meaningful way, right? They're not kin to you. A lot of them you're not going to agree with politically. A lot of them you're not going to have the same background. A lot of them, you don't even really know that well if you think about it, right? It's like almost you don't want to admit to yourself how little you know about these people that you start to fucking love so much.
Yeah.
Right? And so something about the bondedness of team, I think, is a kind of way that we, it's almost like we hijack the best of ourselves out from the midst of all this other bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, like, that's family, man. That's my fucking family. Well, no, they're not. And you don't really mean that. Like if someone quit, like would you keep checking on them or whatever? But at the same time, something in your soul wants to mean that, right? Like you are projecting yourself toward that kind of togetherness. You are being charitable to the otherness that teammate presents. And just in the same way that your family bond causes you to induce charity and empathy in ways where if you met this person on the street, fuck them all day, right? Like Uncle Ricky, like you know what I'm saying?
You
like
have people in your family like that. That if they weren't in your family, you would.
But because they're family, it's not family because you're the Corleones and you're like, well, you know what, it goes against the family. It's because something in your soul is attuned to charity. Yeah. Something in your soul is attuned to generosity, to magnanimity, to a kind of accommodation for otherness that we don't usually call upon ourselves to do. But because of the language of family, this is what language is so important, right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, when you do that with team, all of a sudden that word is sort of, to me, an analog for family. And insofar as it starts to call on those same dispositions and those same attunements.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're bonded to someone that you don't know that well, that is very, very different from you, and otherwise with whom you would have never experienced that openness, but you did because someone said the word team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, like any team, the Rumblers are that way. We try to pick each other up. We try to challenge each other. We try to care for each other. We try to hold each other accountable, call each other on our bullshit. That's it. Like, hey, don't do that. this is what's happening. You're not responding to X, you're responding to Y, and we know you.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're exposed, but you're exposed in the most beautiful way because you're vulnerable now to people who actually give a damn.
Mm-hmm.
Most of your life is trying to protect and be in a defensive posture against that vulnerability.
Yeah, that's the word I was thinking of, vulnerability.
From people who don't care.
Right.
Right? And might prey upon that or poke fun at it or whatever else. On a team, all of a sudden, in those moments of accountability, your best self is vulnerable to people who do care.
Yeah.
And who are charitable and who are, kind. And I think that, that's for me what being a part of a team ultimately is about.
Yeah.
Is that kind of thing.
The vulnerability that you invite, really, when you step onto the field is...
Hey, everybody, watch
different.
me suck.
Yeah, or the potential, the outcome, right? We talked about these outcomes,
Yes.
and it's like a lot of those outcomes, some of those outcomes are embarrassing or produce shame or make you feel a certain way about yourself.
Yeah.
And then to be doing that in front of other people,
Yes.
right? I think in a lot of ways in our modern society, we're mostly taught and encouraged to keep those things very private.
Yes.
And to not let people see the ways in which we fail or feel bad about our lack of accomplishment.
I'll add something to that's kind of weird, that totally fits, and you're dead on, is that it's not just that we're afraid to let people see our failures, it's also that we're afraid to let people see the way we respond to our successes.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're on a baseball field and someone hits a home run, you know that a lot of times you've seen it to where that person had to apologize later.
Yeah.
Right? Because they something about their public presence of being joyful to that degree made them be a dick about it. Right? Like, they almost had to protect. Like, I meant to do that, instead of, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened to me, right?
Yeah.
They saw the miracle happen to them, and the knee-jerk response was to let the ego take the moment rather than to actually be witnessed and let other people carry the joy, let other people be proud.
Yeah.
It's like your ego immediately responds to that by going, oh, we got to keep this for all it's worth.
Yeah, that moment you're describing, I'm suddenly having this very visceral feeling bringing me back to a specific play in high school from my time playing baseball. Yeah.
That specific.
That has stuck with me for years and years, that I think about sometimes. This moment where I was a senior in high school and I was out in the outfield and I made this diving catch.
Okay.
And I was so elated. And that I'd done this thing, and I was running in, and there was this kid on the other team, and this is high school sports on Long Island, and people were just mean, right?
Right.
And I remember the kid made this comment to me that just sort of implied that was all luck, right? That I had just gotten really, 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 really lucky, and it was in a mean-spirited way.
Right.
And I remember being so deflated by that.
Right.
I practice, I do this. And who
you earned that catch.
Yeah.
You went through the reps. You challenged yourself. Yeah.
What you were talking about, like that moment of being able to kind of see the joy of others. Yeah. It just brought me back there.
Yeah. And even this kid's response that you're explaining, I mean, hear how insecure that response is.
Yeah.
Like how he couldn't let it be that you had your moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because somehow that detracted from him or his team or, like...
Yeah. And I've always wondered why that moment stayed with me for so long. That it's something that kind of returns to my mind when these conversations come up.
Isn't that strange?
It's so strange that specific... And it really is. It's not even the catch itself.
Right.
It's that moment of running in, jogging into the field, hearing his voice.
That's a shame, man.
Yeah.
That's a shame. He robbed you of something.
Yeah, I mean, he did rob me of something.
Yeah.
But
There were two
Not in the long run.
There were two robberies on that catch.
Yeah, I robbed somebody of a hit.
Yeah.
And he robbed me of
a joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. An acknowledgement.
Yeah.
And he robbed himself too. He robbed himself of a reckoning of like, hey, we're baseball players.
Right.
You did baseball.
Yeah. We all do it sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think now, we look at it differently and we see that happen.
Yep.
I think that was something last night that I enjoyed a lot, was seeing a lot of the great plays all around.
Oh, man.
And
just there was some
when
great
somebody
plays.
makes a catch, I mean, you mentioned your kind of ideal play, or is that that sharp line drive. I think mine is the one we saw last night, the arcing fly ball.
Okay.
Where, you know, when it's hit and you don't know what the outcome is necessarily going to be, and the outfielder is drifting over like right now, and maybe they're going to catch it and maybe they're not. Y'all have traveled down here to Austin.
Mm-hmm.
You've done this before, going to different cities, being in different places, experiencing them. I was hoping you can talk a little bit about that civic aspect and how you see it. It seems to me that it's a kind of discourse that happens, an exchange.
Sure.
I'm wondering if that's something you've thought about at all.
Yeah, I have. So there's this idea, right, that like identity and difference. Another way to say it maybe is being and belonging.
Okay, I've heard that pairing before.
So being is a deep, deep craving, like you trying to find who you are, express yourself, etc. And belonging is maybe even a deeper craving. And that's why often you'll find these times in life where you see, say for instance, from a particular background, like their father is let's say a father is a metal worker and the grandfather was a metal worker, but this kid has a dancer's soul, right? And this kid finds a point of inflection in his life where he recognizes that his own need to express his being is immediately threatening his place to belong, right? And so it's this moment of decision, and you know, it happens with all of us in the way that we negotiate being and belonging in our lives. Well, I feel like places are like that too, right? You look at a place, and like you guys are down here playing baseball, and we're up 500 miles away playing baseball. And we care about our community, and we care about Lacey Park and the restoration of that field and the history of the T-Town Clowns. You know, we care about each other, and we care about doing well and all the various aspects of Sandlot baseball. And it looks like we got someone hamstrung at first base here.
Got a pickle.
Chris Polanski. Literally legging, one-legging out,
legging
an
out
RBI single, to the fence. Hey. So at any rate, the point is that, you know, so there's identity, right? We're from Tulsa, and difference. You're from Austin,
right?
There's being. We play baseball, and there's belonging, the place where we do it. And expanding yourself and connecting to people always invites, I think, engaging difference. And finding identity there. Mm-hmm. Engaging your own being and finding a broader scope of belonging. And when we come down here and when we have teams from Austin come to see us or whatever else, I think what you find out is like, oh, we're all doing the same thing. We all care about the same things. Mm-hmm. We all go about it relatively the same way. We're all trying to use this as a way to like cope with our lives, and whether that's the doldrums or trauma or boredom or you know, a divorce or a substance abuse problem or just the joy that you need to fill your cup. And the way that that's expressing itself is with this sort of like civic interaction, right? Like, where are we from? And you're even broadening. Like, I told this story before, but I'm not originally from Tulsa. I'm originally from Kentucky. And I didn't give a damn about Tulsa or being a Tulsan at all in any way until I became a Rumbler. It expanded my scope of being and belonging, even within the scope of my own city.
Yeah.
And then because there are other places, folks in North Carolina, folks in Nashville, folks in Austin, folks in East Vancouver, folks in San Antonio, Houston, the PCHL League in the Northern California area, LABF, Los Angeles Baseball Federation, the Port City Pickles, and all of the Doc Yellowstone. Like, you're seeing, what you're seeing is yourself, all these other places. You just look slightly different.
Yeah.
And that is something really, really cool about actually having the moment to sit. And, like, even this conversation, the one that we had last night and this one, it's a great feeling of solidarity to know that there are other folks who ask these kinds of questions. You asking me these questions makes me know that you ask them to yourself. It's hell to be misunderstood in life. And, you know, every moment of solidarity makes you feel just a little bit less alone.
Yeah. Ooh. Post player in front of
He
us.
got dirty on that one.
Yeah.
He got down and dirty. Jonathan Merkel sliding into third. Safe.
Big Merc.
Big Merc. That's a good dude. Jonathan Merkel is a good dude.
There's an expansion of your mind, I think, that happens, or the expansion of what you think is possible
Right.
when you realize that this represents a connector of sorts
Yes.
between you and others
Yep.
in a way that feels at least a little bit less accessible in like your standard civic spaces.
Absolutely. Do I need to experience these other pieces of Americana? No. Or do I? Right? Like, am I ever going to go to Schulenburg, Texas, if I don't go to play a random game of baseball? Am I ever going to experience, the history of the Czech population there? Am I ever going to be privy to some of the finest places to eat and the history of Austin and Downs Field? And like, am I ever going to know those things if I don't come here first?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. And will my life be a little bit poorer for it? Yeah. Do I ultimately have to have that to survive? No, but I might need it to live.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, Sandlot baseball is exactly that. Well, the guys are going to Nashville play baseball at some Shelby Park. I guess it's been there since 1914, and they're raising money for something called the Miracle League. I've never heard of it, but I think I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get there, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you're surrounded by the richness of the moment, and you go, man, what would have been so stupid not to come?
Yeah. Makes you think of the sort of the principle of showing up and how important it is to show up, because everything that happens occurs after that.
Back to fishing.
Yeah.
I've joked with my wife before. She's like, "How'd you do?" I was like, I struck out. And we're like, but you know what? Everyone who wasn't on the river also didn't catch a fish. So I'm just level with everyone who didn't show up that day.
Yeah. When you think about Sandlot, the participation in it, what are you hopeful for? What do you see, if anything?
I could answer that question a lot of different ways, I think. You could talk about strategically or what opportunities there are for growth, community service, all this kind of stuff. And that wouldn't be a bad answer.
Right.
Or you could talk about trying to keep the Sandlot thing pure. How do you do that when it grows?
Right.
How do you keep it the way that it is and keep it special and that sort of thing? But I think my fundamental answer is what I hope continues to happen is that more and more people get the opportunity to experience the giftedness, the quirky, strange, random, arbitrary, difficult blessedness of finding this game again or keeping this game for a little longer. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I just want, whether teams are proliferated or not, whether teams do interesting things or not, whether they play at cool places or not. I want people to go home and tell their wife or their husband or their partner or their mother, hey, I found something today. I had no idea it was here. And I had so much fun. And I think I'm going to go back.
Thanks, Brett, for coming on the show. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe if you liked what you heard. You can also follow us on Instagram at Sandlot Social Club Podcast for new episode teasers and even more sounds of Sandlot, or send us a message or voice memo to sandlotsocialclubpodcast@gmail.com. What's your answer to the question, why baseball? It's almost October, and as the professionals head into the postseason, I think it's a good time to remember that everyone can hit a baseball.
It's simple physics. Calculate the velocity v in relation to the trajectory t, in which g, gravity, of course, remains a constant. It's not complicated.